In the crisp morning air, before the world had fully awoken, Tom had already set off. He cherished the solitude of the early hours, the quiet companionship of the untouched trails, free from the cacophony of tourists and their boisterous offspring. He was a man in search of tranquility, a respite from his hectic work life. Tom was a salesman, a maestro of cold calling. Targets were met with a seamless rhythm and his superiors were pleased. He had been in this profession for 5 years, and the time had flown by. Despite the stress, he found satisfaction in his work. But it was the solitude of his hiking trips that truly brought him peace. In the quiet morning hours, he had already made significant progress. Deciding it was time for a break, he sought a spot to make a small fire. He always traveled light, a minimalist at heart, with only the essentials in his backpack. Among them, a map, his guide through the expansive beauty of the Ardennes. Tom was no stranger to the wilderness. Years of trekking had forged a bond between him and the great outdoors. The vastness and the pristine beauty of the Ardennes never failed to impress him, but today felt different. An unfamiliar sensation had crept up on him, a feeling he couldn't shake off since the first hour of his journey. Hoping that a hot cup of coffee would soothe his nerves, he set about preparing his morning brew. As the aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, he couldn't help but reflect on his smoking habit. A vice he was yet to overcome, but he knew it would one day top his list of priorities. He and a colleague would often sneak out for a fun cigarette during their lunch break at the office, a small act of rebellion that they both savored. Before setting off on his journey, he had discussed the route with the same colleague, a companion in both work and adventure. The local tourist information center had also provided valuable tips, so he had begun his day well prepared, armed with knowledge and a sense of anticipation. As he sipped his coffee, he observed the wildlife around him. Animals stared at him curiously before returning to their routines. The forest exuded an aura of untouched wilderness, as if he were the first human to have ventured into its depths. Deciding it was time to resume his journey, he prepared for the second leg of his trek. He planned to reach the highlight of his journey before midday, the Dragon Rock. Local folklore named it so because of the mythical dragon that was said to have lived in one of its caves. The dragon, according to legend, had kidnapped and devoured women from nearby villages before being slain. Such tales were always a hit with tourists, making the area a popular destination. As Tom packed up his belongings, a sense of anticipation washed over him. Little did he know his visit to the Dragon Rock was about to take an unexpected turn. The sun, in its midday glory, cast a warm glow on the imposing rock face. Its untouched massiveness towered over the landscape, suspended in time, its contours softened by the sun, yet still eerily majestic. It seemed to whisper, "I've been here for centuries and I'll remain for centuries more." The words invincibility, power, and respect sprung to Tom's mind as he prepared to scale this giant. He bit into the sandwiches he'd prepared earlier that morning. Time, he knew, was a precious commodity he couldn't afford to squander on cooking meals during his journey. He checked his gear and the minimal climbing equipment he carried. He knew the next stop would be his last for the day. If all went according to plan, the climb would take several hours. Reaching the cave at the top would likely leave him with too little time for the descent. Tom planned to spend the night in the cave. He had brought along his Swiss Army knife, water, fire-making tools, and a sleeping bag. The tradition of baked potatoes prompted him to pack 2 extra potatoes along with a can of hearty soup. He looked forward to this simple yet satisfying meal. He tucked an extra pack of cigarettes and a plastic bag to keep them dry deep into his backpack. He chuckled at the thought of treating his cigarettes like a prospector's gold stash, hidden away to prevent theft. Shaking off the thought, he reminded himself that there were no cigarette thieves lurking around. He was simply addicted to these cancer sticks, and the idea of becoming paranoid over something so insignificant was absurd. The world wouldn't end if he ran out of cigarettes, and he could probably survive the night if he threw away his pack now. But he dismissed that thought, lighting up another smoke, finding comfort in the familiar ritual, the eternal struggle. This time his backpack didn't contain the MP3 player he usually brought on his trips. Tom had left it at home, intending to fully experience the sounds and silence of spending a night in a cave. He also left behind his joint, a habit he wasn't particularly proud of. He wasn't addicted, but he enjoyed the freedom it gave his thoughts. Sometimes, his mind would wander into realms his friends couldn't follow, and he would retreat into his own world of thought. As a musician, Tom firmly believed that many great songs by his idols wouldn't have been possible without mind-altering substances. He despised hard drugs, yet appreciated the creativity unleashed by milder alternatives. As he surveyed the natural beauty around him, he began his ascent, ready to face what lay ahead.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to explore the rugged beauty of nature? Today, we embark on a journey with our protagonist Tom, a man drawn to the allure of the wild and the thrill of discovery. Picture steep cliffs, overhanging rock formations, a playground for both amateur and professional climbing enthusiasts. The hotels are bustling, especially in summer, and the local campsites draw a diverse crowd. But Tom isn't there for the thrill of the climb. No, his fascination lies in the environment, the robust appeal of the rocks, and the many caves that dot the landscape. His journey begins alongside a gently babbling river. Here he encounters the first fellow early risers of the day, fishermen securing the best spots before the sun fully rises. Later, canoes will navigate the river's flow, journeying towards the village nestled in the valley. There are no cars, no engines, just the soothing sounds of the river. This river is known for its abundance of trout, annually battling the current in search of the perfect spot to ensure their progeny's safety. Every so often, one leaps from the water, leaving behind a large ripple before disappearing like a silver dart into the shimmering water. Hours into his journey, Tom reaches a fork in the road marked by an old mill, a crucial landmark. The vegetation grows denser here. He leaves the main path, following a narrow sand road indicated by a simple sign reading Dragon Rock. Approaching the rock from the east, Tom knows he won't encounter any climbers. They approach from the other side, where a specially constructed road allows them to bring their climbing gear close to the rock. Despite protests from nature lovers, the road was built, bringing much-needed revenue to the local population. As the sun grows brighter, it struggles to penetrate the dense foliage, casting the path in a mysterious darkness. The occasional ray of sunlight breaking through creates an enchanting atmosphere. Tom's journey is a testament to the allure of nature and the thrill of exploration. It reminds us that sometimes the road less traveled can lead to the most enriching experiences. After all, in the words of Robert Frost, taking the road less traveled has made all the difference.
Have you ever heard the whisper of the wilderness, the stories told by an old fallen oak tree? This is a tale about Tom and his journey into the heart of nature. One day a ray of sunlight broke through the forest canopy, casting a magical glow on the scene. Tom seized this opportunity to capture his first photograph of a fallen tree. The tree, probably an ancient oak, was split from top to bottom as though cleaved by a mighty sword. Leaning over, with a portion of its roots writhing like worms from the ground, it seemed as though it had tried to flee the devastating blow. The sunlight created a beautiful, otherworldly spectacle. An odd feeling that had gripped Tom when he had set out that morning intensified when he took the photo, but it faded away quickly when he heard a rustling sound to his left. Startled, he turned towards the noise, then burst out laughing. A rabbit was busily engaged in the act of procreation, seemingly having no trouble filling its day. "You lucky fellow," Tom called out to the rabbit, his thoughts turning briefly to his own love life. He had been single for a few years now, and his marriage, from which he was now divorced, felt like something from a past life. After his marriage, he had embarked on a quest for new pursuits, believing life was too enjoyable to simply mope around. Besides, he had too many friends to wallow in self-pity. The freedom suited him somehow, and the obligations of marriage no longer stood in the way of doing the things he loved. Tom continued on his way, knowing it would be a couple more hours before he finally reached the foot of the rock. He looked forward to his first climb. The gradual incline of this side of the rock didn't require any climbing gear. Not that Tom was afraid of climbing like other climbers did, but he didn't consider himself a daredevil. Instead, Tom found a different way to get his adrenaline fix. In his free time, he played in a rock blues band, frequently performing at local pubs and sometimes at local festivals. His contribution was, as he always put it, the better guitar work. He wouldn't become famous with it, but it gave him enough satisfaction to say that performing in front of an audience was as big a challenge as climbing the highest mountain. Age was no barrier. As a man in his 40s, Tom was still able to hold his own. He believed the most important thing for everyone was the challenge, and that everyone should do what they were good at. In this case, he saw no problem because there could be multiple ways to reach the top of a mountain. As Tom continued his route along the winding path and the road became steeper, he was glad he had bought his hiking boots from a good specialty store. The Darksteiners were essential for such treks, as the sturdiness of these shoes increased the pleasure of such hikes. Waterproof, sturdy, warm and dry were important characteristics, and so the high price of these precious shoes was quickly forgotten. It was like any sport or hobby. The purchase of good equipment is an important aspect if you want to properly pursue a hobby. This, then, is a tale of embracing the call of the wild, of finding joy in solitude, of the freedom that comes from shaking off the shackles of societal expectations and of the unexpected paths to self-discovery. It's a reminder that life is too beautiful to be spent in sorrow, and that the greatest adventures often lie in the most unexpected places. Whether it's through the lens of a camera, the strings of a guitar, or the worn soles of a pair of sturdy hiking boots, each of us finds our own unique way to the top of our personal mountains.
Months had slipped by before he acquired his first real guitar. The journey led him to a music shop in Utrecht, where he found the instrument that, even 20 years later, he still played. Tom fondly called it his first true love. The guitar in question was an Ibanez Musician limited edition, a guitar with a story. Only 7 of this model had been sold in the Netherlands, and one of his heroes, the famed blues guitarist Rory Gallagher, had used one of these very models for recordings, raving about its sound. Tom cherished his possessions and felt a sense of satisfaction that despite the trials of the years past, he still had this instrument and played it with joy. As he reflected on his last performance with his band, he acknowledged that his boyhood dream of becoming the world's best-known guitarist would probably never materialize. Tom realized there were better musicians out there, and achieving fame required more effort than he had put in so far. Of course, luck played a part too, and having a producer or record executive believe in you could set you halfway to success. They had sent demos and hoped their songs, mostly self-written, would catch on, but success had eluded them so far. Yet Tom loved the energy of the crowd, like at the last performance, reveling in their rough, raw music. Especially his ballads got the audience going, and his solos were the icing on the cake. The female fans, almost inevitably present at a band of such caliber, satisfied his ego and often his masculinity at the end of a show. So, no complaints there. As Tom approached the rock, he noticed the sandy path transforming into a rocky terrain. He estimated the distance to the steep climb to be about half an hour away, and then the real work would begin. The fire cave, named so by the locals because, as the legend went, the dragon brought its victims here to be devoured, was the ultimate goal of this trip. The cave, located 200 meters above ground, was reachable by a not-so-difficult scramble. Tom had read enough about the cave and knew he wouldn't find anything since other enthusiasts had visited it before. But he knew his vivid imagination would make him feel like the first and only discoverer of this rock. He imagined coming face to face with the remnants of the dragon, or worse, a descendant or an entirely different monster. The rugged, vast landscape made him feel like an explorer, risking his life in search of new worlds and riches. Not an Indiana Jones type, but more of a Columbus or Cortez, the more realistic types who had changed the world's view. As a child, he had dreamed of making long journeys and loved the many stories during history lessons. In the end, Tom's journey, with his guitar and his dreams, was a testament to the power of passion and the beauty of the unattainable. It was a story of love for music, the thrill of performance, and the yearning for discovery. It was a story of a man and his guitar, intertwined in a dance of dreams and reality. The realizations were bittersweet, but the journey was worth it, every single note of it.
Does the spark of adventure ignite in childhood? Picture a young boy named Tom, his pockets filled with pilfered potatoes and purloined corn, embarking on long walks into the unknown with his closest companions. These were not just simple strolls. They were voyages into the unknown, where the thrill of potential danger heightened their senses, and the taste of stolen vegetables roasted on a makeshift campfire became a feast fit for kings. Tom's family was not wealthy, but he was rich in imagination. This resourcefulness was shared among his circle of friends who knew that with a bit of creativity, they could turn the mundane into the magical. This knack for innovation birthed an ingenious game they called Not Spotten Boen, a Dutch term that translates to building sturdy boats. Born from a rainy day's boredom, they began crafting models using plastic bricks that came free with their household laundry detergent. Initially, they constructed simple houses, but soon realized the potential for more complex creations. The narrow hallway of their family home, with its smooth vinyl-covered floor, became the testing ground for these newly built sturdy boats. Sitting opposite each other, they would slide their creations along the floor, testing their durability and design. The boat that lost the fewest pieces upon impact and boasted the most aesthetic design was crowned the winner. This game was not just about imitation, it was about innovation. The challenge was in the construction, the strategy, and the presentation. Despite the occasional scuffle over a foul play or a missed shot, the game remained an exciting and creative outlet for them. Fast forward to Tom, standing at the foot of a majestic rock formation as the sun reached its zenith. The rock's rugged grandeur took his breath away, its untouched massiveness towering over the landscape as if time had stood still. It was a testament to invincibility, power, and respect, emotions that echoed within Tom as he prepared for the arduous climb ahead. In summary, Tom's childhood adventures, from his long walks into the unknown with friends and their stolen feasts, to the innovative game of Not Spot and Bowen, have shaped the adventurous spirit within him. Now, standing at the foot of a towering rock formation, these experiences fuel his courage and determination to conquer new heights. It's a testament to how the seeds of adventure sown in childhood can blossom into a life filled with exploration and discovery.
Have you ever considered the existence of creatures beyond our comprehension, lurking in the depths of unexplored territories, much like the mythical Yeti or the elusive Loch Ness Monster? Perhaps these tales aren't mere figments of human imagination, but a testament to the vast unknown that our world encapsulates. Imagine this. Picture a man, let's call him Tom, an adventurer at heart. He's heard of these stories of ancient beings, of prehistoric giants like the colossal squid or the age-old crocodile residing in well-hidden corners of the world. But for him, the allure of the unknown is not a deterrent, rather it fuels his curiosity further. One day he finds himself on the brink of a daunting challenge. A cave, rumored to house a priceless treasure, lies before him. A few hours of arduous climbing separates him from his destination. He pushes on, driven by the tantalizing prospect of the discovery that awaits. As he reaches the cave, a sense of accomplishment washes over him. He prepares his meal, basking in the thrill of his impending exploration. His heart races at the thought of what he might find. A treasure, a piece of history untouched by others, or perhaps a simple inscription. The anticipation is palpable, making his modest meal taste like a feast fit for a king. As he steps into the cave, the rugged walls carved by nature's relentless forces reflect the beam of his flashlight. He allows his eyes to adjust to the darkness, his only companion being the light of his lantern. He ventures deeper into the heart of the cave, mesmerized by the kaleidoscope of colors and diverse formations. He finds the perfect spot to set up camp for the night, a recess in the rock near a natural spring, reminiscent of a cozy nook in an old farmhouse. Clearly, he isn't the first to have chosen this spot. The remnants of charred wood suggest a previous visitor. He sets up his sleeping bag and lights a small fire, the dancing flames casting a symphony of shadows on the cave walls. As he records his day's experiences in his travel journal, a sense of satisfaction fills him. Tomorrow he will explore the rest of the cave, but for now he succumbs to the lull of sleep, the flickering firelight a comforting presence. But then, something unexpected happens. Tom wakes up to find a figure standing near his dying fire. A woman shrouded in a black cape, her face hidden under a hood, her voice soft as a whisper. She instructs him, "Go to St. John and find the message under God's watchful eye." Who is this mysterious woman, and what could this cryptic message mean? Well, that's a story for another time.